My Scotch and I. 'Cause OB is the guy. OB is the guy.
Good evening and welcome to Me, My Scotch and I. I'm Obi Spencer and we are on the Spanglish Sports World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app from either the iOS or Android App Store. The app is free. Please rate it. Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. This show is broadcast on 4 continents and 35 countries. The weather here in the Northeast is beautiful, and it must mean that baseball season is just around the corner. We are getting a full 162-game schedule in the MLB. Many of the other changes from last year will remain, like the 7-inning doubleheader and a base runner on second in extra innings. I'm happy to lose the extended playoffs. I wish we kept the universal DH, even though I am an NL guy. Joining us today to talk about the upcoming season is Michael Ventola, the media relations manager for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, the AAA East team of the Philadelphia Phillies. Michael, how are you? You're on mute. Pressing M. Oh boy, we are having some technical difficulties today. Michael, if you can hear me, at least give me a thumbs up. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you the next question I have, besides how are you? Maybe by then we'll have the audio fixed on your side. Fingers crossed. Because my questions are, what do you think about the choices that Major League Baseball has made to keep and exclude from last year? This is quite the problem. All right. You still working on your mic over there? Well, while Mike works on his mic, you can find us on Me, My Scotch and I on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. On Twitter, it's just Scotch and I. We look forward to you following us on all our social media platforms. Interesting. So what we and Mike were going to talk about, and hopefully Mike can get this stuff fixed with the producer in the background, is Major League Baseball. We're going to discuss what teams we like to win, the divisions, Cy Young winners, and of course MVPs. So I'm going to give Michael some spoilers here and let you know what I'm looking at this year. For the AL East, I think we're going to have the Yankees. For the AL Central, I like the White Sox. And for the AL West, I'm going to go with the A's. I'll give more details on each of those when we get to it. And in the NL East, I like the Braves in the Central, the Cardinals in the West. That's probably the easiest pick. Our defending champion, Los Angeles Dodgers. One of the things that's come up this year is a new rule. Many people know is that Major League Baseball sent a memo out to tell the teams that they are going to be looking to crack down on substance abuse. And I don't mean PEDs. They're worried about external substances on the balls for the pitchers. It's obvious that Major League Baseball has become concerned about the league becoming just a home run and strikeout league. So in order to deflate some of that, they're going to try to manage what the pitchers are doing. In addition to checking video, they're going to be using spin rate. Now, this was supposed to be something we had to check how well pitchers were pitching and try to understand who was a good pitcher and who wasn't a good pitcher. And now it looks like instead they're going to try to determine if a pitcher's spin rate's going up too high or too low. Has that pitcher started cheating? That's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Because it certainly is something that will be different for the pitchers from last year, for all the players, really. We thought these new technologies of spin rate, ball angle, and speed off the bat, we thought they were going to help us enjoy the game from a fan's perspective, and it looks like they're going to be used for a enforcement perspective, and that is definitely a complete change of what we expected to see. We have Michael back, which is good. And yeah, he's smiling at least. Just so we all, his computer's not coming off mute or his speaker, so he had prepared. I don't want anyone to think he's trying to get out of this, and the frustration is visible on his face. I'm really waiting to hear him tell me why spin rate doesn't matter. Yeah, he agrees. Well, as Michael continues to work, we're trying to get him a different link. One of the other things that I think is going to play a big deal this year is obviously the Yankees have hitting. What happened with Garrett Cole last year is the perception of him was that he did not perform. And so I'm expecting to see him bounce back a little bit this year, but I'm not sure it's truly going to be a bounce back as much as a perception of a bounce back, which is not something that's uncommon in the New York metro area. I think you can argue that we saw a lot of that with A-Rod over the years where people were like, oh, he's not doing well. The Yankees lost in the playoffs. It was A-Rod's fault. And when you went and you looked at the numbers, it wasn't as horrific as was perceived until he finally broke out, practically carried the Yankees to a World Series under Girardi. I'm expecting a little bit of that from Garrett Cole as well. And that's why I'm pulling him out for my Cy Young. For the American League MVP, I'm going to go with the guy who's the best player in baseball on the team that doesn't support him as well as it should. Oh.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Awesome.
Excellent.
There is a little echo, but we'll get to that next.
How about now, brother?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. So I know you've heard a lot of what I've said, so why don't you give yourself a little time to respond, and we'll start with the new rules that are and aren't in place from last year.
Well, you know, it's funny because the game is trying so hard to attract younger audiences, trying to speed up the game. You know, I've been working in minor league baseball for a long time, and I'm kind of, even though I'm 32, I kind of really appreciate the old style of doing things. I've actually had the opportunity to see the runner on second base in extra innings, more so than the fans who have, you know, got a chance to really see it for the first time this past year. You know, I can respect some of the rules, but to me, I just would really kind of rather see baseball being played the way it used to be played. But the one rule change that was really frustrating from a year ago is is the 3-batter minimum. I'm just so glad. To me, that is one thing that is just, especially with pitching, how frustrating that was. You know, because you would bring in a relief pitcher, and then they would have to face a batter, you know, minimum of 3 batters before you'd be able to pull somebody out. And then to me, right now too, you had the designated hitter last year, and now you're potentially not going it with this year. It's as much as I like pitchers hitting, and even though I grew up an American League fan and I do like the National League style of play, the DH is going to come to the National League full time. I would think as early as 2022. So, but at the end of the day, baseball is going to try to do what they can to, make the game more entertaining. Try to keep it, at a faster pace. So, I think the rule changes are, from what they're seeing as being helpful to what their goals they're trying to accomplish.
Okay. Yeah, I totally agree that they're just trying to figure out a way to make people watch the game, trying to keep it slower, not slower, faster.
Yep.
One of the crazy things about the DH to me for the last, I guess it's 15 years now, is the idea that the DH hit in the American League Park. Now, I know the DH is an American League thing, but if you're going to bring a team to my National League Park, I want to see your team, which means I want the DH in the National League Parks on those games, not the other way around. So seeing the pitcher hit, every now and again you get a Mike Hampton, but for the most part, it's not fun. So I'm glad to see that out. And when I hear guys like John Smoltz go, like, I didn't even want to be up there. It makes me go, okay, let's get that out. But like you said, you saw the extra man on base for some time. Are there things you're seeing in the minor leagues that you're going, that they need to bring up? That will speed up the game and keep the integrity of the game, if you will, around.
Yeah, I think, I remember when they implemented the runner on second base in the minor leagues, it was to speed things up, especially with extra inning games in the minor leagues. Sometimes they'd go 16, 17 innings, sometimes even in the 20s, depending on how the games really went. And it was very taxing, especially on a farm system, because then you're pulling guys from AA or, depending on where you're at in regards to what level you're at, you're pulling guys from levels below, or if you're at AAA, some guy may have to get sent down from the major leagues. So, got a little taxing. So I kind of understood it in the minor leagues why you would put a runner on second base, just to kind of speed things along. But there's going to be some other rule change, especially on the minor league side, that could eventually make their way into the big leagues. Like I know for us at the AAA level, we are going to see the bases are going from 15 inches to 18 inches. So that's going to draw certainly, that'll be more of a situation where, you get a ground ball in the infield, guys are going to be able to beat him out a little bit quicker. Guys want to steal bases. That's you're going to see some more stolen bases. So and I know the rule changes in the major leagues are what your audience here they care about, but they're testing a lot of these certain rules in the minor leagues because if they feel like they're successful in the minor leagues, they're eventually going to try them in the big leagues, and that's what you kind of saw last year with the runner on second base and with the being universal, pretty much from the single A on down, double A and triple A pitchers would hit if it's National League versus National League. So, so something to be said about what's happening in the minors because it could eventually affect the big leagues.
Absolutely. And speaking of things in the minors that affect the big leagues, we heard me talking and kind of just hitting on some things that I thought about. One thing I intentionally didn't look at, and I'm going to throw this right at you, is who the rookies are, because you have a unique perspective. You've seen one or two guys probably who are coming up this year, hit in front of you, field in front of you, pitch in front of you. So who are the rookies that you are looking at going, these guys might be difference makers?
I think it's going to be interesting because especially after last year where you had no minor league season, if you were fortunate enough as a minor league player, as a prospect to get to alternate sites, which took place at most AAA sites throughout the country. That was the only season you were able to have, unless you were fortunate enough to go play winter ball somewhere, go play in the Dominican, go play in Venezuela. Once the season was done, or in Arizona for the fall leagues. But I think when I look at some of the rookies this year, believe it or not, I'm actually I want to look to the American League East, even though they're not officially rookies, but they're only been in a big year, maybe two. I'm looking at the trio for the Toronto Blue Jays in Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Kevin Biggio, and Bo Bichette. I remember watching all three coming up in the minor leagues. When I was in Double-A with the Reading Fighting Phils, the Phillies Double-A team, I got to watch those three quite a bit because the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, which were the Blue Jays, which are the Blue Jays Double-A affiliate, Reading and New Hampshire played 6 series a year, 3-3, which was very fortunate. Especially for your fans who are American League East type fans who are wondering, the Blue Jays are a bubble team this year. Just in a lot of pundits believe the Blue Jays have a chance to really make the playoffs, and if they can score a lot of runs, can maybe potentially make a deep run. And those three are going to be a big reason for their success. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been one of the best minor league players I've seen come through in quite some time. If you remember watching Vladimir Guerrero, his dad hit, he had arguably the worst plate discipline because he was the best bad ball hitter this game has seen in quite some time. So how I would describe Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is he's his father, but with plate discipline, because he's actually a good ball hitter. He's just not a good bad ball hitter like his dad. He's got a little bit more plate discipline. So for fans of watching who are really itching to see who are going to be the next young gun type players coming up, just look at the Blue Jays with those three. They are going to be fun to watch.
Excellent. And speaking of the Blue Jays, as I said earlier, I'm calling the Yankees in that division. And I even went so far as to mention I think Garrett Cole's going to get that Cy Young. It's going to be perceived as a bounce back year, even though it probably won't be. Who are you liking in the AL East?
I right now, too, like the Yankees, and I think Garrett Cole is a big reason for that. There's not a better ace in that division. Blake Snell, who certainly was with Tampa Bay, now going to San Diego. I know Tyler Glasnow has been a strong suit for Tampa Bay, but I think you look up and down at the rotations in the American League East, especially if Corey Kluber and Jameson Taillon are healthy and can live up to the back of their baseball cards, those are going to be a good number. That's going to be a good 2-3 punch. That rotation becomes really good, becomes fantastic if those two can live up to the expectation the Yankees are hoping to. The Yankees lineup, we kind of hit repeat the past 5-8 years. We seem like if they stay healthy, OB, they're going to hit. They're going to score runs.
Right.
All comes down to healthy. And their bullpen, even despite losing Zach Britton now to some time, they have a deep bullpen, arguably the deepest bullpen in the American League. So I do think the Yankees are going to win the American League East. But I tell you, early on in the offseason, I'm thinking I wanted to give respect to Tampa. You come off as the American League champions. I had them pigeonholed for quite some time in second place. Not anymore. I'm jumping on the Toronto Blue Jays bandwagon. I think even despite their rotation being a little bit questionable after Ryu, I think that their lineup is going to be able to score a lot of runs. I think they're going to I think they're going to win a lot of games because of their offense this year. And I think Tampa Bay in third place, I still think they're going to be really good, but I think they're going to just fall in third place. But yeah, I think the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Orioles are kind of in that rebuild mode. So, but that's how I see the American League East playing out.
Nice. While we're on the American League East, is there going to be a more inspirational story this year than Trey Mancini of the Orioles coming back?
No, not at all. I think what Trey Mancini, I know the NFL always issues a comeback player of the year. Trey Mancini, without question, should fit that bill. I mean, what he had to go through in his life, and you think for him as an athlete, but imagine just a non-athlete having to go through what he's gone through. It's kind of heroic. It's really inspirational, and you kind of see what the community in Baltimore, the Orioles really rallying around him. From ownership to front office, and the Oriole fans embracing him. And I remember watching Trey Mancini come up too. It's a special player. I just think that if you're not, to me, whether you root for any other team in American League East or even if you're not an Oriole fan, you almost want to root for the Orioles this year and kind of see what Trey Mancini can do. And I believe that I'm rooting so hard for him to have a big time season. It would just be one of the best things for the game if he can come back and do what we all hope that Trey Mancini is capable of doing.
Agreed. So I know you and I, last time we were on a show together, we both were looking at the White Sox as the team really to beat. But since then, Eloy Jimenez decided he didn't need half his chest. reaching for a home run ball. How badly do you think that's going to affect them? And does that change the look at the Central?
I do think that losing him to an injury is certainly going to affect them. Do I think it's going to be enough, in my opinion, to knock them out of winning a division title? I don't believe so. I think this is such a deep team in so many ways because the White Sox, they have been quietly building such a strong farm system for quite some time. And, you look up and down their team, and I'm getting an opportunity to kind of look at some of their guys that really jump out to me. I love their infield. Obviously, when you look at Jose Abreu, what he's been able to do, I love Yoan Moncada. I remember watching Moncada coming up when he was with the Red Sox organization. A really good. Not only can he play well in the field, but also can hit. Nick Madrigal is someone else who I think is going to be heavily relied on with the White Sox this year. And in my opinion, one of the best players that we're going to talk about all season long is Luis Robert. He is an absolute stud. I remember watching him in 2019 with AAA Charlotte, and this is a kid just now at 23 years old is really capable of being a five-tool type player. So, I mean, obviously it's going to be interesting to see what Major League Pitching can do with him here this year. I know he was able to play, quite a bit in 2020, just playing 14 games, what was a 60-game season. But I'm high on the White Sox. I actually think that if things go right for the White Sox, they could be a World Series contender this year. And you know what's funny? I know Tony La Russa hasn't managed in quite some time, but the guy is a walking encyclopedia. The guy is a walking baseball of knowledge. So I just think right now the White Sox, they have a great base of young talent. They do have some veterans on that team that'll help them. I just thinking, because you kind of look at the rest of the American League Central right now. I mean, Cleveland, I don't think so. Detroit's young. I just think right now the White Sox are kind of the team to be.
I think it's a nice division to be in when you lose a guy like him for a few months.
Yeah.
The AL West, taking the A's, but like I said, it's Mike Trout's division, except he's got no one playing around him. So I'm going to give Mike Trout the MVP because I just think the A's are going to be good enough. They're going to cross that 500 mark and all right, we'll give it to Trout again. Your thoughts on MVP in the American League and the West?
Well, to me, Mike Trout, if for those of you who are watching that are a big fan of wins above replacement, Mike Trout's the greatest player who ever played because he's had the highest WAR in the history of WAR. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but I think when you look at most valuable player, it's hard to pick against Mike Trout. I mean, he's some analysts have put him to the modern day Mickey Mantle. I mean, he's just the best player in the game, just an all-around skill set, not only offensively but defensively. And I think Joe Madden managing that Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim team, I think it's going to be good. But I don't think the Angels are going to make the playoffs this year. But he certainly, Mike Trout's going to be good enough to win the MVP. I tell you, I like Oakland. I like their young ability. They're fun. They just seem to always be around. Even they have no headliner type ball players. I mean, they lost Marcus Semien to the Toronto Blue Jays, who I thought was a big piece of their success in 2020. But I tell you, the Houston Astros, I know they lost George Springer, and I know that they've lost, Justin Verlander is going to be out for quite some time. But I would lean towards Oakland winning the division, but I also wouldn't be surprised if Houston, if they're hanging around, and if Verlander is supposed to come back, I believe, in the second half of the season at some point, that if they're just hanging around enough, that they, with Zach Greinke and Lance McCullers, still a decent rotation, that they'd be able to find a way. The Mariners to me are just the greatest. They have so much work to do, despite having some good young talent. To me, I can't wait to see J.P. Crawford continue to develop at shortstop. I remember watching him coming up in the Phillies organization. They have some young talent, but I just think you're right, Obi. I think outside of Oakland right now, there's not too many of a sure thing in that division, unless, like I said, Houston gets healthy at the right time.
So I want to thank you because you're making me feel smart because you're agreeing with everything I have to say.
Yeah. I mean, you normally like to see people debate back and forth. I wish, folks, I could debate with them a little bit. Maybe once we get into the National League, we could debate. But I agree with you in the American League. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, and even my wild card teams, I can't imagine you're going to say anything different just based with everything that you said. I like the Blue Jays. I like their young core. I like what they did in the offseason. And everything you said about Houston, plus I think that chip's still on their shoulder. Whether, they're still like, everyone looks at us like cheaters. And I think that's still sitting there. So those are my wild card teams. I'm imagining, based on what we said, that's who you have going in as well.
Yeah, I pretty much do. And I know, like, some people are saying, guys, you're forgetting about the Minnesota Twins. And you know what it is? I'm not forgetting about them. I'm just really high on the White Sox. I think you and I feel like not many people are talking about the White Sox. So I want to pat you and I on the back. We're going to pat ourselves. I feel like
I'll take it.
From what you and I have, what we've seen about the Chicago White Sox, I think they're just going to be, the favorites in the Central. That Houston, like I said, I believe they're going to be able to hang around, and I'm with you. I'm high on Toronto. I think Toronto's going to figure out a way to get into the playoffs this year.
Okay, and we're going to start with the wild cards in the National League, and I think the wild cards in the National League is going to be the battle of the shortstops with Tatis Jr. of the Padres and the New York Mets and Lindor. So now we're starting differently here. So where are you going with the wild cards?
I guess if I have to kind of play things in my head, I'm with you. I definitely agree with you with San Diego and Fernando Tatis. I tell you, the Padres, if they can click on all cylinders this year, that could be a wild card team that can go to the World Series, and they could even win the World Series. That rotation looks to be so good. I love the Blake Snell addition. They have some great young arms. But to me, Fernando Tatis is arguably the most. I think Juan Soto with the Nationals is the best all-around player in the game besides Mike Trout, but I think Fernando Tatis is right with them in that when you look at overall core. But the New York Mets. I'm with you. I like the Lindor trade, and I think the Mets, if they can stay healthy, that they can get to the playoffs. I'm going to agree with you about the wild cards here, even though part of me thinks that the Mets are going to find a way to Met this thing. The Mets are going to Met, But I just think at some point the baseball gods have to reward the Mets, and I think this could be the year. And even though Noah Syndergaard's been hurt, and I know he's expected back at some point, but still, when you have Jacob deGrom and I think getting Cookie Carrasco from in that Cleveland deal as well too, I think the Mets are, and I think it's funny, Obi, they're going to be a better team without Robinson Cano this year.
I think so, and I think it's going to show. But and you mentioned deGrom, so we're going to, before we get into the full picking divisions a little bit, we're going to talk about deGrom and Bauer. Is there anyone else besides those two for that Cy Young?
I think Jacob deGrom's in position to win the Cy Young. If I had to predict it, he'll be it. But I like Walker Buehler out in Los Angeles. I actually think he's probably the true ace of that rotation. I know Bauer. Yeah. I know Bauer being signed, especially to that deal. And you and I can talk for an hour about how unbelievably smart Bauer is, how he, in my opinion, he manipulated the market, and how he's got Rachel Luba as his agent is tremendous. He's just so smart in that regard. But I think Walker Buehler is the top guy in that rotation. Clayton Kershaw, I know always gets the notoriety. And Bauer, I'm not trying to downplay Bauer. I think Bauer is certainly deserving of the Cy Young a year ago. But you kind of look at Bauer's career numbers, there hasn't really been anything to write home about. Walker Buehler's kind of been the guy that's been really at the forefront for the Dodgers the past couple of seasons. So, but ultimately, Obi, I do think that Jacob is going to deGrom is going to win the Cy Young, but I would also think Walker Buehler is going to be a candidate this year.
Excellent. And, the Cy Youngs of the two awards, when you look at last year versus this year, Cy Young versus the MVP, we see pitchers really have amazing 3/4 of the seasons. And it's not as common with a hitter. A hitter, they might not win that MVP at the end of the race, but they're still talked about unless they get injured. Not taking the Mets in the East, so I must be taking the Braves. But I do like the stories of Soroka and Strasburg in that division as comeback player type deals.
Yeah, I'm only taking Atlanta at this point because they, what's funny, even though they've lost some guys, they've lost some players, they get some players back. I do think them bringing back Marcell Osuna was good. Get a good veteran option, though. I think they would have rather him be more of a DH, but they're going to have to put him in left field this season. I just think Atlanta, they could have been a world. To me, they would have been the team I thought would have been able to really challenge the Dodgers in the playoffs last season. Obviously, things didn't work out that way. But yeah, I like the Braves to win the National League West. But you mentioned about the Nationals. I will say, if there's a team in all of baseball that will be that will either blow everybody's mind away or kind of just be blah, here they are, it's going to be the Washington Nationals. Because if they're healthy and if they're able to attack on all cylinders, they could just go right by the Mets and go right by the Braves and win the division. Because when you have Max Scherzer and you have Patrick Corbin, pretty good rotation. You mentioned and I think Juan Soto is just so much fun to watch. That's where I think the Nationals right now. I would probably put them in third. I got to put them in third place right now, but also wouldn't surprise me if they were to take things by storm.
So they're your X factor. They're the one team that they're just all boom, 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 and I don't think you can forget about the Nationals at all. Other than the fact that I already said I took the Mets. I think taking them to win the division is a really gutsy call, but taking them to make the wild card is just saying, and if they all hit on all cylinders halfway through the season, they can go ahead and run with it. In the Central, I'm pulling with the Cardinals. I think Arando was enough of a pickup to make the change that they need to propel themselves to the top of the division.
Yeah, to me right now, you look at the Cardinals. I think they're another team that's going to have a chance to be really good this year. They're my pick as well too. Man, you and I were really agreeing on everything. I like you look at their pitching with Jack Flaherty up top, and they have some other good arms with Dakota Hudson and trying to think, and of course even bringing back Adam Wainwright was a strong move for them. But I love their ability I think getting Nolan Arenado was so clutch. They were able to keep Matt Carpenter, Paul Goldschmidt at first base. It's going to be a really good infield. Their outfield which is okay, because when you have a legitimate infield as they do, with whether with Paul DeJong and Matt Carpenter, as I said, Nolan Arenado, Paul Goldschmidt, and of course too, Yadier Molina, getting him back as a veteran presence catching. It's a well-rounded, good team. I look at the rest of the NL Central. I think you and I were kind of leading down the same path here. To me, the Cardinals are going to be the only representative, because even though Milwaukee is still, they're going to be good, but I just think how you and I said in regards to the wild card, I don't think they're going to be as good as the Mets or the Padres. And then, the rest of the division too, they're still, the Cubs. I don't think they have the pitching. You look at the Pirates are super young. So to me, the Cardinals. Cardinals may have the easiest path to a division crown this year of any other team in baseball.
Yeah, I agree. And that leaves us the West and the Dodgers and all of the pitching and all of the hitting, and then getting more pitching. Everything we've said about them. The only thing that's left to say about them is, is Mookie Betts going to pull the Frank Robinson and get the MVP in both leagues? I mean, that's still the only question until the playoffs start, I think, for the Dodgers.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much more really to add with how good that lineup is. Able to, keep Justin Turner and able to really just keep that whole team intact. And, of course, adding Bauer. The Dodgers are the World Series champs for a reason. They were the best team in 2020. They had been the best team in baseball, actually, record-wise, for the past few years. The World Series just tend to blow up in their face a little bit. So right now they would have to be the World Series favorite too for me. But yeah, so sorry, folks. We didn't debate as much as you would have hoped for.
No, I will disagree with you in that I will take the field versus the Dodgers.
Okay.
They have this Atlanta Braves feel to me. They're going to have the one World Series and a ton of success in the regular season and even early in the playoffs. But they just have that Atlanta Braves feel to me, showing my age a little bit. This show can be heard on Spanglish World Radio Network. Please check out http://spanglishworld.ca for all the news and programming. Spanglish Sports World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, love it. So now you've shown your encyclopedic knowledge of baseball. And I'm so happy to have gotten some voice out of you because really you just know it, and it's great. Makes me look smarter. I appreciate it. But we're going to do the segment of the show that I know you're not prepared for unless you've been watching the show, and it's the fashion segment. So we're going to have some pictures put up here on the screen of two different baseball players, and we're going to discuss what they're wearing. So we're starting with Marcus Stroman, and let me get my picture up here. He's wearing this nice flowered shirt. No tie, a pocket square, and some white sneakers. To me, this is how you wear a suit if you're not going to wear this is how you wear a suit with sneakers, and the key being no tie. Your thoughts on Marcus here?
I was about to say I like the outfit. I got to be honest with you. He looks pretty suave here. I like the color of the suit, and I think, like you said, about the way the sneakers and the way they match. I like the shirt as well too. I don't think I'd be able to rock it, but for him, job well done. I think it looks good.
So, yeah, well, after I discovered how good of a dresser he was, I also learned that we should expect this out of him. He has his own fashion line, but I don't know whether this is his line or not his own line, nor do I know if in this next picture if it's his own line or not. But let's get up our next picture here. So here he is in a beautiful wide brim fedora with a high neck white button down shirt. When I look at the way he dresses, he knows how to dress for the office and for happy hour. He just goes right from work, right to the bar, right to wherever, and the outfit doesn't need to change, which is really a great style that he has.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned about the fedora. He can certainly rock it, which is good. Like, to me, I'm envious of that. Like, you, even your hat, like, you guys can rock it. I can't. So I'm being open here, is that I'm envious of you guys being able to rock the hats, because I can't. And plus, though, sadly, when I think of fedoras, I kind of think of the older school, with the more of the tilt. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but so far, like what we've seen.
Absolutely. We got one more from him. Let's go. And here he is. This is a streetwear casual look. He's got a solid chain. Not really my style. Essentially, this entire look is really a little young for me. I like him a little more dressed up, if you will. Definitely could never wear one of these tunic length shirts that he has on. But it's a great look, just not for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is definitely not the look for me. I do like from what I see, his shoes. Outside of that, I wouldn't be caught in something like that just because I know it wouldn't fit me. But I do like how he was the past two pictures. I'm I guess I'm a little bit more of an older school guy. If someone can rock a suit jacket, nice button down, even keep it casual, even if you lose the jacket, that's more of a look for me. So, but for him, though, he's able to do it. Me, not so much.
Absolutely. So the next guy we're going to talk about, we did talk about during our show. Here's Mookie. He has a more flamboyant style. I love the big knot on the tie. The two pockets and two buttons on the tight cut jacket is not where I want to be. But I love this whole thing on him. It's just it's a little strong for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to pull something like this off too. And one thing is, though, I do like the contrast with the purple and the gray, but in the tie, I wouldn't be able to work that tie. And I do got to give him props, though. The man knows how to work a hanky, though. I will say that, though. That's some strong hanky game right there. So
yeah, it is. That absolutely is. In his next picture, we got him wearing a hat. When I like the hat, but this is when he's proposing to his wife. And like I said, I chose this picture because I just love the hat. The capri pants, again, are a style I don't rock. But I do love when I see the guy who can pull it off. I'm always like, wow, that's a look I can't do, but great job on you. And the red trench coat just finishes off this look with some flair. Your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, I think the Capri 2, yeah, I haven't tried that look, but I've seen on other people, and to me, if you can do it, do it. He's obviously able to do it. I do like the hat, as I said earlier. I can't rock it, but the loafers, though, you don't see that too often. You don't, and I like it. I have a pair, not like that, but I do have a nice pair of loafers, especially during like the summer months.
Yeah.
You can wear them like he is, or also too sometimes a little bit formal, or going out just to dinner, nice dinner outside. If you get a nice pair of like dress shorts, nice shirt, as long as you don't have me, the terrible sock tan, we have a good to pull those off. So, but I got to give him props on the loafers though. Well done.
Nice catch on the loafers. Good eye. Good eye. And our last picture, this is Betts at his most elegant. It's obviously a photo shoot. It's a monochrome white and cream outfit with a slight texture on the turtleneck, exaggerated lapels on the jacket. He has this elongated suit jacket with a tapered pant. With a more conventional jacket, I think I could wear this one. This is the only one of his outfits that I would try, but I'd have to change up that jacket to a little less robust.
Yeah, for me, I would too. This would be something I would want to wear. I like the mock sweater. I recently started myself implementing mock sweater into not only just in my dress whenever I have to go, any formal setting. I've actually used it for my on-air responsibilities as well too. And it's not a look that everybody can pull off. For me, I've been able to be favorable with the mock. So for him, I love it. I actually think of all his that we've seen, this is his best look. And he kind of, to me, looks like, trying to think of a movie character. He kind of jumps out to me. Kind of looks like Shaft in some ways, with that apparel. Like he looks like he's ready to just kick some butt. And I'm a big fan of Mookie. I had the opportunity to interview him when he was a Red Sox farmhand back in 2014. And Beanie says his last picture, I can say this. He is one of the coolest guys and one of the nicest guys in the game that I've ever dealt with. And I'm just happy to see him doing as well as he's doing. But yeah, this look here, this is my favorite look of his.
Excellent. That's great that you got to interview him too, because that's where you are, and you get to be that. That's the advantage of where you're at. Is you get to meet these guys before the world meets these guys, and really have a sense of who they are before the world does. So that is our last picture. You handled that well.
And I'm not one for fashion. I got to be honest with you, Obi. When I, as getting older and starting to realize that your appearance, it's important. You know what I mean? Obviously, you shouldn't fully define you, but what you wear each and every day should kind of show the world like who you are. Should show your personality a little bit. So for getting a chance to see that, it's neat, and I appreciated you doing that. Because it's funny when I talk to, talking to folks about sports, it's always like who's going to win, who's going to lose. So I thank you for showing me kind of the softer side of athletes, and that hey, they care about other things outside of throwing a baseball, hitting home runs. It's whether it's fashion, whether it's business. So that was pretty cool.
Excellent, absolutely. So now that we've gone through that hurdle, we get to the fun part, and now baseball is surely an American sport. American pastime. American is apple pie. And so we're going to have a few drinks here that are super American. So first I'm going to grab the Me My Scotch and I house blend, because I already know that both of these whiskeys are going to be added to the house blend before this day is done. And we're going to start with old number 7, Jack Daniels. Let's go pour this up a little bit. Oh, there it is. Wow, you're not joking.
I told you that was a big bottle. I might have started already. So
that's why you were on mute.
It was, yes.
Take a look at this color. A nice golden caramel brown. Spicy, a little oily, maybe.
I love it. This is just smooth to me. It always, number 7 always goes down smooth. I never had an experience with number 7.
This is a smell that half the people watching right now are thinking about going, they're nauseous because that's what Jack does to some people. And the other half are smiling like you. Like they're like, oh yeah, they're drinking their Jack. So let's get this a nice little taste here.
I think it's one of those, like for me, it just, like I said, it goes down smooth. It's not hard. It's, you don't get like jump back when you taste it. Just nice and easy down. Doesn't sit heavy, doesn't go heavy in the chest. So I love, it's one of my favorites.
Absolutely. It's smooth, a little nutty, some caramel in there. And like you said, the finish is not a punch. It's sweet. I think that will have to go back to the oiliness of it maybe in the mouth. But yeah, like you said, there's no boom and it is good. And there's a reason why Jack Daniels is an American favorite.
Absolutely. One of those where growing up listening to a lot of Frank Sinatra, appreciated as well too. That was Frank's drink of choice too.
Yes, it was. I suspect if Frank was alive now, he'd have a song. It's called Old Number 7.
Old Number 7.
All right. So now we're gonna hit up Maker's Mark.
Yes, Maker's Mark.
This is see now you got the big bottles. I buy so many of these bottles that if I don't buy the little ones, there's going to be no room in my house. So we got the little 50. Makes for good drinking.
Yep.
Oh, this is definitely darker than the Jack.
Yes.
That is really fruity.
It is. I'm glad you said that because I'm thinking it is a little bit more on the nostril. Like, when I smelled that, I was like, okay, definitely a little bit more fruity, more jumpy in that regard. Nice.
Wow. Okay. I'm sorry you came in with such a high love of Jack, because to me, I would drink that 3 times before I drank Jack. That is wonderful. Butterscotch meal, super smooth in the mouth. Like Jack, there's no punch at the end. Just a little sweeter, a little butterscotch vanilla. I think I like just a hair more. Maybe 3 times is an exaggeration.
For me, and just for folks wondering, like, I'm not all like 100% Jack, that I will say this, that if I can't get Jack, if I'm out or whatever, I do go to a Maker's Mark after that. I used to be more of a Jim Beam person in second, but Maker's Mark has grown on me if I can't get Jack. But Jack is just, it's the gold standard with me. So
that's okay, because given your encyclopedic knowledge, we're going to get you on again. We're going to have you try some scotches in the future.
Oh, let's go. I'm ready. So whenever you want me on, I'll do some scotch.
Excellent. So before I ask you a few more baseball questions, what do you have going on that you want to let people know about?
Well, right now for me, just getting prepared for the upcoming AAA season. So for now, the Phillies are using our stadium in Allentown, Pennsylvania, as the alternate site for their for the Major League season. So we will be the alternate site for the Philadelphia Phillies, at least in April. But our season starts Tuesday, May 4th. So just getting prepared for that. And for those of you who do love baseball and love Major League Baseball and haven't really dove into much of the minor league scene, give minor league baseball a chance. And, especially too, if you can get out of your house and go see a ball game. Minor league games are certainly a lot more cheaper and a lot more fun in regards to entertainment and for a night out for your family. So check out the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. We're located in Allentown, Pennsylvania. But of course you can, follow me on Twitter at Venting Daily. If you're a big Twitter follower out there too, I'd like to tweet a lot, but that's what I got going on right now. OB is just getting prepared for baseball. A lot of my freelance broadcast work is kind of being put to bed now. It's just all baseball, all in at this point, which I'm excited about, though. I was sad I couldn't get down to spring training this year. So it was the first time in about 5 years I wasn't able to get down to Clearwater. But did watch a lot of Phillies baseball, obviously studying up and getting ready for the season. So
absolutely. And as a guy who's been to many minor league games, I will back that. When it comes to minor league game, last minor league game I went to was such a great story because it was just like driving home, and my friend pings me. It's my husband's birthday. We're going to the minor league team, and we got a box. Yeah,
Nice.
because you can afford a box, and it was like the whole box experience that you get in a Major League Baseball game for the price of 4 Major League Baseball tickets. And we had the whole box, 25 people. It was great, and you get to see guys who, if you watch them and you track their names and you remember them, one or two of them are going to someday be, oh, I saw him play before he was a big time guy.
That's the cool thing about it. So, and it's funny. Real quick story. I know when I used to work for a team, and just go to about relationships. I used to work for a team in Illinois. They were an independent league team. They were called the Southern Illinois Miners. Had a pitcher that was with us for a couple seasons. A kid by the name of David Harden. Ends up leaving, signs with the Somerset Patriots in Somerset, New Jersey. So my dad ends up going to a game one night, and he got there a little early. And I told him, I said, Dad, if you happen to see David Harden, I gave him his jersey number one. I said, yell to him and let him know I said hello and whatnot. Not only ends up saying hello, David comes out onto the concourse, starts talking with him. They take a picture with one another. He gets him on the phone with me. I start talking to him a little bit. This is him before a game. And that's kind of like, even though as big as it is, Obi, it's also to a small world as too. So that's the relationship building, not only just from announcer, front office person to player, but also to fans to players. I can talk all night how minor league ball players develop outstanding relationships with fans, because that's the cool bond that is able to happen.
I believe it. I mean, it's if you have to get on the bus to get back home versus your beautiful car, you'll spend an extra minute or so talking to a fan for sure. Mm-hmm. We have a very small amount of time left. Yeah. So I just want to ask you a quick question. I'm going to ask you a yes or no question. Okay. I'm sure you could go off on this for hours. Is it analytics that's making baseball slow and killing the game?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. From the announcer himself, and we all heard him encyclopedic knowledge. Next week we will be off, but join us in 2 weeks when our guest is Joe Sterenak, the retired CEO of PGA America. He and I will delve into the Masters tournament and get ready for moving day on Saturday, and maybe even make some predictions for Sunday. As always, you can find us on Zingo TV, channel 250, on YouTube for Spanish Sports World, Spanish Sports Net, and Me, My Scotch, and I, as well as Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now on TikTok as Me, My Scotch, and I. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next week, 2 weeks from now. And special thanks to our guest, Mike Ventola. Definitely somebody we're going to try to get back on. And maybe we'll get a full show next time. But we recovered nicely. Thank you again.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me. And fans, thanks so much for allowing me to be a part of your Friday night.